Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. The first story: Boss Cuts Corners, leading to illegal work abroad, police intervention, and my escape by exposing the client. The second story: Incompetent medical assistant caused my allergic reaction, resulting in job loss and also the possibility of getting any other job in the field. The third story: Armored delivery driver repeatedly blocked handicap parking spots, so the dispensary manager took action, resulting in multiple parking violations. On to the first story. Arrested in Algeria because my boss is a cheapskate. I used to work for a complete shyster of a bloke at a joke of a consultancy many years ago. Now, not sure how many of you are aware of this, but for Westerners to work in a lot of African and Middle Eastern countries is a major pain in the A, and usually a combination of paying outrageous visa fees, sucking C, and dealing with stupid BS policies like sodification. Correspondingly, for a Westerner to work in Algeria, you have two options. Pay for a proper work visa, which involves getting a letter of invitation from an Algerian company, months to process, and several thousand in bribes fees. Pay $100 for a tourist visa and pray they don't catch you doing any work. I fly into Algiers and get picked up by my local driver and interpreter in a big effing Toyota Land Cruiser that's been outfitted as a work vehicle, with the name of the company proudly emblazoned on the side. Oh great, really effing subtle considering I'm supposed to be a tourist. JFC. So we drive to the base at Hassi Messaad, get dinner, have a chit-chat with the base manager, and then we meet up with some other work vehicles to drive out to the camp in convoy. Settle in, go to bed, get up and go to work. Which was fine for a couple of weeks. We're doing a couple lines simultaneously. I'm driving hither and thither checking things out, fixing my back-to-back F-ups, writing reports and drinking beer in a shipping container with some of the local crew at the end of the day. I despise drinking with expat managers because they're all W's. Now, periodically, the local cops would come out to check things. These aren't really police. They're basically the army. And by check, they mean pay us to go away. We had a local bloke in town who would ring the camp to warn us when they were doing it, and all the filthy foreigners working illegally would F off to one of the fly camps down the line. Unfortunately, this time, we didn't get the warning. They rock up and we're there, so they're demanding we show our business visas. They all can, I cannot. I try my last desperate attempt. Well, SH, look, what if I just pay the fine in cash now? But they're not having a bar of it. Into the Algerian version of a paddy wagon I go, and they throw me in jail. Before you think, well, it must be some nice place out by the airport, where they temporarily keep people until customs sorts them out. No, this is the local jail. It looks and smells like a jail from a spaghetti western, except instead of a nice sheriff chewing tobacco, it's two local militia with machine guns, chain-smoking Marlboro Reds and being C's. By this point, I'm assuming the phone calls are frantically flying back and forth, and at some point some minor functionality with a wallet full of cash will come get me and she'll be right. It's happened before, it'll happen again, no big deal. I just have to wait it out and play nice with the locals. Not so this time. This time I've got another guy in uniform who drove down from Hassi to tell me in broken English that they're sick and tired of people coming to their country to work illegally, and I'm to be made an example of to teach these companies a lesson. I beg them again to call the base manager who can sort out the cash paperwork, but he's nowhere to be found. Turns out they were trying to arrest him as well for allowing all of this, except he got tipped off and fled the country. Can't say I blame him. Now, I'm in deep SH. I'm asking for someone to contact the Australian or American embassies to at least let them know I'm in custody, and they just laughed or pretend they have no idea what I'm saying. One of the locals from camp has to drop me off food. My balls are itching because I've been wearing the same jocks for a week. Doesn't help that while pretending to play tourist, I was picked up in company high-vis coveralls with logos all over it and steel cap boots. On the plus side, the two locals guarding me are delighted because my laptop and hard drive were seized with me, and I logged them onto it. Our relationship improves and they have no problem giving me cigarettes, so at least that passes the time. And my terrible Arabic improved somewhat. Finally, stupid uniform bureaucrat comes back and releases me by way of driving me to the police station for an interview. They want to know who sent me. Am I aware of the penalties? How long has this been going on and such? Guy has a phone on his desk. I ask him if I can call my boss who can explain everything. He sorta shrugs and passes the phone over. After a few botched attempts, I manage to call Boss Man back in Australia. "OP, how's it going?" he asks quite nonchalantly. Yeah, not sure if you were aware, but there's been some issues with my visa." "Yeah, I heard about that. I was just about to call the F do you mean about to? I've been in jail for an effing week." "Well, it's a delicate thing. See, under our contract with client, we're supposed to..." I hang up on him. I bum a cigarette off a bureaucratic man. I'm effing peeved. I've been rotting in jail for an effing week. My fiance has no idea where the F I am. The base manager who's supposed to cover my A has gotten out of Dodge, and I have no money, no passport, and nothing to barter with. Except one thing. I go through it with bureaucrat man. He shrugs. He doesn't really care as long as he can go back to his boss with a story about chasing illegals out of the country. We ring into Australia again, this time on speaker. "Sorry about that, mate," says I. "Call must have cut out." "Well, okay. Anyway," he starts up again. "Listen, here's the deal. I'm sitting here with a very nice man from Algerian immigration who has very nicely let me try to sort this all out. All right. Now, you've got copies of my travel docs in the office. Can you please read off my work visa number and the person that issued the letter of invitation?" I don't... That is, sure, it's somewhere around here. Look, do you have a number I can call you back on? Might take some time to find." "Nope, should all be there in a file." Bureaucrat man is smirking, offers me another Marlboro Red. He's enjoying watching the stupid Westerners trying to figure this out. "Look, OP, are we talking privately?" he asks nervously. "Absolutely," says I, taking a long drag off my smoke with the speakerphone on. "Well, look, he's really anxious now. Well, how do I say this? There's been a bit of a mix-up. It seems, someone booked you on a tourist visa instead of a business visa." "Ah," says I, "that explains it. Well, my friend from immigration just wants to sort out the paperwork. Can you tell me who at our end booked the visa?" "Oh yeah, we got it through corporate travel agent, who arranged it with client rep, which is all managed by client's country manager." "I see. Well, too many chefs and all that. Anyone else you can think of who I can contact that might know about this?" Boss proceeds to list off another 6 or 7 names. Bureaucrat is frantically writing them down. We kill off the car, with Boss Man reluctantly agreeing to pay all fines and to organize me an emergency passport through the Aussie consulate. Bureaucrat Man says that since I've been so cooperative, they'll hold me for another day or 2 until I'm deported, with strict instructions not to try to come back without a proper visa, if at all. Back to jail I go, but this time I'm sitting in the office room with the militia blokes chain smoking and watching bad movies on my laptop. Under much coercion, I put on Team America World Police, and these guys are laughing hysterically at the Durka Durka stuff because they think that's what Arabic sounds like to Americans. I took the laptop back with me, but I let them keep my hard drive full of pirate movies. A day and change later, I'm back in Australia. I smell like an elephant, and Aussie Customs holds me for 45 minutes because I have an emergency passport with a deportation stamp. But then it's a cab, home, where I have to borrow the neighbor's phone to call an effing locksmith to let me in, because my phone and my keys are in a police station in Algeria. I call work to pay for the locksmith, and it's one of the few times my boss just agrees to pay for something without argument. Some months down the line, I hear through various channels that the client had to pay some massive amount of money for additional expat processing fees to the Algerian government, lest they all be booted out of the country. It's an interesting story. It's surprising how life can bring us incredible adventures when we least expect it. Your trip to Algeria for a job that was not even planned was a real challenge, but you managed to pull through. Your situation with the visa and misunderstandings with the management shows that traveling can turn into a real adventure if you do not follow all the formalities. I understand why Saudi Arabia may believe that businesses in their country should be aimed at providing jobs for the local population. However, why not require that all employees of companies in Saudi Arabia be Saudis? There are several reputable telecommunications companies that provide international communications, so this is not too difficult. If all employees in Saudi Arabia had Saudi citizenship, it would encourage them to work hard. We can all learn something from this story. How important it is to remain capable of finding ways out of even the most difficult circumstances and not to lose our humor. The second story is, take meds that I've repeatedly told you I'm allergic to? Okay, have fun with the fallout. So, some background. I'm moderately allergic to all anti-inflammatory meds, which sucks, but isn't super rare. What is my reaction, which I've never seen as a reaction before or since. All of my joints lock up and I'm completely unable to move. It's not fun and people tend not to believe me when I tell them about it. A few years ago, I worked at the Big Brown Package place, which I had absolutely no business doing seeing as I'm seriously tiny, but I needed the money. And as expected, I got hurt. I dislocated my shoulder twice. The second dislocation was so violent that it completely destroyed the ligaments in my shoulder, and I had to have them replaced. This led me to the pain management and rehab clinic. The guy in charge of me, honestly don't remember what he was, but definitely not a doctor, wanted to put me on a course of seriously heavy steroids to try to reduce the swelling, and thus the pain. I told yet again, we'd already had the conversation at least 3 other times by this point, that it wasn't an option for me. He kept at me about it, i.e. maybe you won't react like this with that brand, blah blah blah, and something in me snapped. I told him fine, I'd do it, but that I wanted it in writing, his signature, and a witness signature that he was taking full responsibility for whatever the outcome was. He readily agreed since he didn't think I was telling the truth about the allergy. I have no idea why, because honestly I would have killed to be able to take them, because they would have been the only thing to actually help my recovery. So I took the steroids and as predicted, complete lockdown. 1 EpiPen and an ambulance ride later, I was fine but seriously peeved. I gathered all my records from the ER visit and his written statement and made an appointment with the clinic's big boss. I gave him all the paperwork and told him what happened. He went pale and begged me to give him a chance to fix this. I agreed but said that if I wasn't satisfied with the outcome, it would be dealt with by my lawyer. As I came out of the office, I saw the useless guy. He asked me how my shoulder was doing and if the steroids had helped. I couldn't help it. I smirked and said that he'd find out. Long story short, he got fired and then blacklisted in the medical community. I was satisfied and finished out my time with a wonderful pain management therapist. These people are tiring me out. For some inexplicable reason, my body reacts to intravenous medications with a feeling as if acid is being poured into me. To reduce this unpleasant sensation, the medication should be diluted with salt water. Despite my explanations, if someone from the medical staff decides to check it, it always ends up with vein inflammation. I've been to the hospital many times because of this, and each time there was a doubter who did not believe in my words and decided to experience it for himself. My file was not added to this information for fun. It's always easy to recognize who it will be. It's always the same type of person who thinks they know more about your illness than you do. Although you may say that your leg hurts, they're convinced that it is definitely your arm. I could cite many cases when I heard such incredible things from such people. The story is, armored delivery driver finds out they're not above the law. I worked for a dispensary and we handled a lot of cash, so every morning and sometimes 2 to 3 times throughout the day, an armored van would arrive and deliver change or pick up the safe contents. As a medical dispensary, we had a lot of patients who used the handicap parking spots. There were only 3 for the whole building, yet the morning armored truck driver would always be sure to pull his van up sideways across all 3 spots. The morning delivery took the longest, which often meant customers would arrive and not be able to use those parking spots. After asking the driver not to do this anymore, I was told to call his boss if I had a problem. His boss said if I had a problem to handle it myself, so I did. The parking enforcement sent 2 people to our location, and when he pulled his van into place as usual across all 3 spots, they pulled an enforcement car up on either side of him and wrote him a total of 5 infractions. Shortly after, we switched companies, which was probably unrelated, but I secretly think it was the small shame they felt inside after being jerks about something we all know better than to do ourselves. When I was working for a large armored truck company in the United States, a very strange situation arose. Drivers, security guards, and even management had the belief that they had the right to block any place for their own safety and for the convenience of entering and leaving the building. They get a morbid pleasure out of it. When people complain about it, it's complete nonsense. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.